Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Peasley, and I am an Associate Director of Admissions here at Lewis Clark State College. And we're really excited tonight to be able to show you a little bit about the Social Sciences Division. And here with me today is our Division Chair, Dr. Chris Riggs. And I'm going to turn it over to him in just a few minutes, but just a couple of pieces of kind of housekeeping information. One thing is to please remember don't include any personal information in your questions if you are going to ask them on Facebook. Keep that, your social security number or student ID number. Don't put that in the comments because they are public. But if you do have specific questions regarding a unique situation or anything like that, you can email us at admissions@lcsc.edu, or you can call us or text us at 208-792-2378. That being said, we love questions. I know Chris will be excited to have questions as he goes through his presentation. So feel free to go ahead and ask any of those questions that you may have in the comments section. This will also be recorded and will be housed on our Facebook account. So if you don't get to watch the whole thing today, or you want to come back and check it out, you're welcome to check that out at a later time. And there's lots of other information about other divisions here at LCSE. So we love that if you want to come back and check those out, you'd be filled with all sorts of great information about the divisions that we have. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So first thing is, some of you may not be familiar with Lewis Clark State College. So where are we? We're located in north central Idaho in a town called Lewiston, Idaho. We have about 55,000 people between Lewiston, Idaho and Clarkston, Washington. We're right on the border of the Idaho and Washington states. It's a great place to be if you love the outdoors. We have a very mild climate. Right now it's 43 degrees out there on January 11th. And so that's a pretty typical winter evening for us. So we get really hot summers, and like I said, pretty mild winters. Spring comes early, fall sticks around late. And if you like to do things outside, the Lewis Clark Valley is a great place for that. We're right on the confluence of a couple of rivers. You can get out and fish or hike, raft, all sorts of things like that. And we're really close to a lot of areas, like if you like winter sports or you want to kind of get out and explore. We're not too far away from a lot of places. So it's a great place to be. The college itself, we have about 3,700 students who go to school at Lewis Clark State College. We are a public four-year college. We do offer two-year associate degree programs in some of our programs. We do have like career technical education programs as well as academic programs. And obviously the social sciences division, which Dr. Riggs will talk about here in just a couple of minutes. We also are the lowest tuition in the state of Idaho for four-year public colleges. We're just under $7,000 per year for Idaho residents, and we have some fantastic out-of-state scholarships available for students. So if you are joining us from a state that's not Idaho, keep in mind that there's lots of ways to kind of offset those out-of-state tuition costs, and we can help get you squared away on that kind of stuff. Pretty small class sizes. We're right around 15-1 for class ratio, the students to faculty. And then I think one of the coolest statistics that we offer, and this is really something we're very, very proud of, is we have a 97% placement rate for our graduates. And this is our graduates who, within 6 months of graduating, are using their degree in their field. Whether they're going on to graduate school or they have jobs, they're actually using that degree. And we have fantastic resources to get our students out and learn a little bit more about internships and other career opportunities across the board. And also, resources to help students with, making a cover letter or having a mock interview, just to get them prepared to get out there into the careers that they're interested in. So we're really excited that we are able to offer this opportunity to you. And if you, like I said, have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments, and we will get to those as we go through the presentation. So Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can tell us a little bit about the social sciences division.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Rachel. And I'm very excited to be here and very excited to have an opportunity to speak about the social sciences division. So I thought maybe I'd just start off, talk a little bit about what the division actually is. I mean, the division offers a variety of distinct but related majors, all of which involve the study of people, both as individuals and as groups. And so one of the things I just think is so fascinating about the social sciences is it kind of is a study of us. It's about why we do what we do, why we believe what we believe. And so to me, it's just really kind of neat. And it helps me, and I think it helps others to think about, kind of look at the world and try to make some sense of what's going on out there. Um, and again, as you can kind of see down there on the list, we have a variety of different types of majors. Some of them are more traditional kinds of liberal arts types of majors, such as history, anthropology, political science, designed to kind of give you a broad education, prepare you for a number of different potential career or graduate school paths. We also have some other majors, such as social work, for example. That's a little bit more targeted toward a specific career. But as I'll mention, even with some of those more targeted degrees, there are a number of paths that can open once people graduate. So if we could go to the next slide, Rachel, please, that'd be great. Yep. And so I just thought I would talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the social sciences division. Again, I could go on for a long time, but we only have a certain amount of time, so I will try to show some level of self restraint. But one thing I do think that is really a hallmark of our division, and certainly I think of other divisions here on campus as well, is that along with a lot of good opportunities for classroom instruction and learning and interactions, there's a lot of chances for hands-on learning that take place outside the classroom. So just as an example, all of our majors provide opportunities for internships. In some cases, they're required, in other cases, they're optional. But any major you pick in the social sciences, if you want to do an internship, there's going to be a chance to do that. And that means a chance for you to get some hands-on, quote unquote, real world experience in an area that you're interested in. And so, for students, say if you want to be a police officer, you can do an internship with, say, Idaho State Police. If you're interested in counseling, you can do an internship with one of our private counseling services. If you want to do social work, opportunity to work with the State Department of Health and Welfare. If you're interested in politics, you can intern with some of our state officials and federal officials' offices. In fact, we had a student a few years ago did an internship with a state senator here in Lewiston and parlayed that into a job with Senator Crapo's office that she currently has. So there's definitely some chance if you want to sort of apply what you're learning in the classroom to the quote unquote real world, there's a lot of chances to do that. And just kind of related to that, a couple other things I'll mention just real quick. We have a very robust public history option. Again, a lot of people think of history and they say, well, what can you do with it other than teach? One of the things we try to do is show students some hands-on things they can do. And among other things, our students have designed professional quality level museum exhibits. A couple of years ago, some of our students put together an exhibit at a local museum to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the passage of the Women's Suffrage Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. State historian of Idaho saw that exhibit, wrote to me, said that was a professional quality exhibit. If he hadn't known students had done it, he would have thought it was done professionally. So even with those more liberal arts types of majors, there are lots of chances to kind of get your hands dirty, so to speak, and do some things outside the classroom. Other thing I wanted to mention, again, just in sort of this vein, is we do have opportunities for some international travel if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. We have what we call our Ecuador Field School program. What that involves is it's a spring class. You take a course here on campus, learn about the history and culture of the country of Ecuador in South America. Semester wraps up. The next week, you're on a plane. You go down to Ecuador and you spend 3 weeks in country. You live with host families. You tour historical sites. You go to urban areas, rural areas. You learn Spanish. You learn Quechua, which is an indigenous language, and get to spend about 3 weeks being immersed in a different culture and a different society. And so, I guess again, I could go on and on, but I just think there are a lot of opportunities here for some hands-on learning to really get some experience outside the classroom that I think can really serve you well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you
Go
think
ahead.
that, is there any, chance that some of those internships could be maybe even paid positions?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not always. I wish in ideal world they would
Right,
always get paid. I mean, we pay in terms of credit, but we
right.
have absolutely done paid internships. Just as a quick example, every couple of years, the Nez Perce County Clerk's Office gives us opportunities to send students to their office to help with the election every couple of years, and those are all paid internships. And I think last year we've had anywhere up to a dozen students getting paid to
Yeah,
help run and manage the elections we have every 2 years. So, short answer, absolutely.
awesome. That's so great. Great. Are you
I
ready for the
agree.
next slide?
Yes, please, if you could,
Okay.
that'd be great. And then just kind of going on with the highlights, I also wanted to mention a lot of opportunities for student engagement on campus. We have the social sciences division faculty sponsor, advise a number of different clubs, some of them related to different disciplines in the area, but a lot of them just do things that are kind of fun and interesting and helpful. So, just as an example, some of our clubs, like the political science club, the anthropology club, often participate in what's called the Art of Giving food drive. It's an annual food drive. They collect food from around some neighborhoods around the campus and donate that to local food banks. And in fact, the picture I have there is this was pre-pandemic, so we haven't done this for the last couple of years just because things have been so disruptive. But what we would do is different clubs would participate in the food drive, and they'd have a contest to see A, who would get the most food donated, and B, who could provide the most decorative display of their food. And so you can see there, that's the picture there is of the Political Science Club's display, where you have the Lego figures of Abraham Lincoln and the Statue of Liberty on top of the can of Mandarin oranges. And so it's just kind of fun. It's doing something good for the community, but it's also fun just to be able to get out there and talk with people, just have some fun things. We also one of the clubs also holds an election night viewing party here in our student union building. It's nonpartisan. The division pays for snacks, and people come out and they sit and eat popcorn and pretzels. I think we got brownies, and they just watch the big screen TV and watch the election returns and kind of cheer or boo as the mood tickles them. They've had the mayor of Lewiston stop by, sit down, talk with the students during the event. And so again, I could go on and on. But I mean, there's a lot of chances for things like that. We have our history club that's actually just got back from a conference in New Mexico where they got to present their research. And so, again, I think if you're looking for some opportunities to be engaged and do different kinds of activities, fun things with your fellow students, I think the division offers a lot of chances to do that through the various clubs that the faculty help to support.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I think that's everything for this slide. Although, if you have any questions, Rachel, please feel free.
I think I'm good. Thanks,
Okay,
Chris. I'm going to go
sure,
ahead and
sure.
flip the slide for you.
Great, great. So, just a couple of other highlights about the division. Excuse me. Just want to emphasize that we do try to provide courses in a variety of modalities. And so we do provide opportunities for students to learn both in a face-to-face as well as a distance learning format. So for example, if you're looking for a traditional kind of education, you go into a physical classroom, sit there, the instructor's in front of you, you're having conversations. We absolutely offer that. That's very important, and we value it. But we also realize that there are students out there for whom that may not be a good fit. Maybe they're older, maybe they have a career already, maybe they have maybe they're caring for young children or an elderly family member, and being able to be in a classroom, coming to campus, being in a classroom at 9 o'clock in the morning may just not work for them. And so we do have some distance learning options. We have what we call both an asynchronous option, where basically you have certain assignment deadlines and you just do those assignments by that deadline. And if you need to do that from midnight to 2 a.m., then that's what you can do. And that's not a problem. We also have what we call a virtual remote option, where maybe you need that distance education, maybe again because of career or geographic distance or what have you, but you really want more structure than the asynchronous option provides. What you do with this virtual remote option is you meet as a class, but you do it through video conferencing, like Zoom, for example. So maybe every week at 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock or 10:30, what have you, you get on Zoom and you Zoom in that class, and the other faculty members there, other students are there, and you learn that way. And so again, the idea is just to try to kind of meet students where they are, recognizing that students are diverse and they have diverse needs, and we try to provide some options for students to make our education as accessible as possible. Also wanted to mention that we do have, and I alluded to this earlier, a number of opportunities for undergraduate research. We have, as I mentioned, for example, our history club members just got back from a conference in Albuquerque where some of those students presented their research. Every year, our political science students and other disciplines travel to a regional conference, usually in Portland or Walla Walla, some other place in the Northwest area, where they get to hear cutting edge research and have presented their own research. We've had students mentored by individual students mentored by individual faculty members to do a research project, a grant-funded research project that they have then gone to present at a conference. We've even had students co-author papers with their faculty members. And I think to be an undergraduate student and to graduate with a bachelor's degree and be able to say that you co-authored a paper or presented at a professional conference is pretty neat. And it's going to make you stand out when you're applying for jobs or applying for graduate or law school, to be sure. And I guess the only thing I would add is that last year, I'm very excited to report that 7 of our social sciences faculty members won teaching awards.
Wow.
Some of them here at the college offers, but these are very competitive awards, given, vetted very thoroughly by their colleagues, by members of the college's leadership, as well. And in one case, actually a statewide award where the faculty would compete with others from around the state and was found to have was honored for her work providing general education coursework to students. So again, I'm obviously biased, but I think we've got some pretty neat and very dedicated, hardworking faculty who I think really do care about students. And I think for people who come here, if you're looking for someone who's faculty who are going to care about you and spend time on you and do everything they can to help you be successful, I think LCSC is the place you want to come.
Yeah.
I think we can go to the next slide, Rachel, unless you have anything you think we should add. Okay. Just thought I would talk a little bit about careers. I kind of alluded to this before. I've got a couple slides on this one. As I said, the division has a number of different majors. And so we've had students over the years do a whole variety of different kinds of things after graduation. But just a few examples of maybe some of the more common careers that we've had students go into. I kind of list some of those there. Just for example, we have a very strong justice studies / criminal justice program. And so we have a lot of our students come into that who want to go into law enforcement. And we've had students do exactly that. They work for the Lewiston Police Department. They work for Idaho State Patrol. We've had others go on to federal law enforcement. We've had students work for tribal law enforcement. So if that's something you're interested in, we can definitely prepare you for that. We also, as I noted earlier, we have a psychology program. A lot of people want to go into counseling, and that is definitely an option. We have had students definitely go on to counseling careers. Now, one thing I should mention just real quick, and I mentioned that in the note above, is that some of these careers do require additional training. So for example, a lot of counseling positions do require a master's degree. And so you would want to go on for that. But we have at LCSC a very strong record of graduate school preparation. So if that's something you want to do, we can get you ready for that. We absolutely can get you ready for that.
Chris, we had a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
If you don't mind me interrupting really
Please.
quick. We have a question from a student that says, what is a good field for psychology that focuses on psychological disorders?
That's a great question. Well, there's probably a number of things you could do. I mean, certainly, a counseling, you could certainly do a counseling path might be one way to go. We also have a very strong research track in psychology. And so you could go on, say, to graduate school, go on to um, get an advanced degree, go to work for some of various kinds of research centers or universities that study various types of psychological pathologies. Now, one thing I should mention is that, again, I think in psychology, we do have a nice balance because we do have, just as an illustration, we do have a standard course called abnormal psychology. And it talks about those various, schizophrenia, multiple personalities, and other challenges that people face in the mental health area. But we also have courses like positive psychology, where we talk about, well, what's going right with people? Why, for those who maybe do pretty well, what's the psychological basis for that? And so, I mean, definitely, I think there are career options out there. If you're interested, if someone wants to contact me directly, I'm more than happy to put you in touch with one of our psychology faculty members, and they can talk to you a little bit more explicitly about, if given your area of interest, here are some career paths that our students have taken.
Awesome.
Hope
I'm
that
adding
helped.
your email into the chat so that the
Please,
student
please.
can have that email and hopefully reach out to you if they have more specific questions. That's great. Sorry
Please do.
to interrupt there, Chris.
Nope, that was great. I'm glad. No, I'm happy to answer any questions people have. And again, feel free to email, call me. I'm happy to answer the question if I don't know. It's a small campus. I've been here 20 plus years. I pretty much know everybody, and I know where to go to find the answers to the questions you're asking.
Right.
I guess maybe just to pick up where we left off, just a couple other examples of careers that people have gone into. We've had a number of people go to work for various kinds of nonprofits. We have some students working in nonprofits that support people with disabilities. We have had people go into nonprofits dealing with environmental types of issues, conservation types of issues. We've had people go to work for various governments, tribal governments, state government, local government, federal government. We've also had some people go into business, decide that that was what they want to do. There's an art store here in town founded by one of our former students. So I think there's a lot of options, that a lot of different paths that a degree in the social sciences can open up to you.
Definitely.
I think we can go on to the next slide unless there's other questions. And I guess the other thing I wanted to mention, just kind of building on the career question, and I alluded to this before, but again, I think, as I mentioned, sometimes you look at a particular major or degree and you think, okay, here's the path you're going to take. But one thing I guess I just want to emphasize is that I think all of our degrees really do try to prepare students for a variety of different types of career paths. We really focus on a lot of what they sometimes call the soft skills, the research, the ability to do good research, problem solving, critical thinking. I mean, I know critical thinking has become kind of a cliche, but it really is true. We really do try, to get people to think about and to look at things analytically. To think about not just what's there, but why is it set up the way that it is? Could it be different? What are the implications of the way certain organizations of societal structures are set up? What does that mean? And if we change that, what might the implications of it be? And so I think a lot of employers, that's kind of what they're looking for, not just somebody who can who can really do that kind of critical thinking. And so we've had a lot of students go on to career paths from majors that you might not always think of. I'm thinking, say, of the social work major who wanted to become a police officer, the justice studies major who now is a substance abuse counselor, history and political science majors who work with people with disabilities or who have or environmental nonprofits. Psychology major who was a marketing coordinator for the YWCA, the anthropology major who works at a nonprofit that helps immigrant refugee women. We've had students go on to actually help manage local political campaigns if that's what they want to do. So I guess my point just is that even though it might seem like a particular major kind of leads directly into a particular kind of career, what we've often found is that may not always be the case. I think it leads you to something. I think it leads you to something positive, but it may not always be obvious in terms of where it might lead you. Again, I think what our majors are really designed to do is to broadly prepare students in a way that really opens a lot of doors for you, and that you can kind of, in some ways, hopefully chart your own course and use the skills and knowledge that you gain to try to find a career and way of life that you find fulfilling and
Yeah.
that's meaningful to you.
Yeah, I've been here at LC for a while as well, and I've had the privilege of working with three coworkers over my time here that have all graduated from LC from the social sciences division. And one was political science, and he went on to be an attorney
Mhm.
after he worked here as a recruiter, and kind of got that experience working with other people, diverse backgrounds, that kind of stuff. One studied to be a high school history teacher
Mhm.
and came in to be a recruiter and was able to develop so many skills, based on what he experienced, not just in your kinds of classes, but then being able to transfer those into his job representing LC. And I'm currently working with a graduate of LC through the social work program. And he started with social work, and he was out in the social work field, and you can really tell the skills and the things that he's learned in those classes and how those apply to what he's doing now. It's not specific social work, but
Yeah.
working with people is working with people. And so I've always been impressed by that as well. Just knowing that broad, like you said, that broad education really does impact students, regardless of what type of pathway they pursue, whether it's something specific in that major or if it's something a little bit more broad.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Rachel. That's very gracious of you. Yeah, I mean, that means a lot to me because that is really what we strive for. We really want people to be, I think the phrase is sort of good for all time zones, that there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different things you can do, and you don't end up being kind of pigeonholed in just one thing, a lot of different paths you can take. So, and I do really think that is something our majors do. It's not to say, of course, that there are people who go that more traditional path. We have people who do social sciences,
Mhm.
history, secondary education, and they go on and become teachers, and they're great at it. I get to go
Yes.
visit them, and it's so not say you can't do the more traditional path, but just to let you know there are different ways to go, different opportunities that I think these degrees can open for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
All
again,
right.
I go ahead. I'm sorry, Rachel.
Oh, I was going to say, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that slide?
Boy, gosh. I guess the only other thing too is that we have had, just to let you know, we have had a number of students go on to law school, um, and some of them, of course, have gone from we do, and a lot of them do come out of our justice studies major because we have in the justice studies major a law path actually designed to prep students for law school if that's the career that they're interested in. But we've also had students go to law school from history, for example, or political science, even something like social work or psychology, which you may not think of as a sort of traditional law school prep, can serve as that. Um, and from talking to folks at law schools, a lot of them say it's to them, it's less important what specific degree you have, but they want people who can think, they want people who can able to read and analyze. And again, kind of going back to that cliche, critically think about what they're studying. And so I could go on and on. I'm trained as an academic, so we can talk a long time, but I also know sometimes more is less or less is
Well,
more rather. So,
we
but
have another question for you,
oh,
actually, Chris.
please,
So
please.
here you go. So it says, in your opinion, is it harder for students who graduate with a social work degree but receive case management themselves throughout school, discredit, or cause a disadvantage for that student? So I think what the question is, because the follow up was, sorry, I typed that out weird.
Oh,
um, but do you think, I think what they're trying to say here is which, I don't know what they're trying to say. Is it harder for students who graduate with a social work degree but receive case management themselves throughout school, discredit, or cause a disadvantage for that student?
hmm. Well, I guess what I apologize. I'm not quite sure what the question is getting at, but I will offer that our social work degree is in what's called generalist practice. And the idea there, again, kind of reflecting what I said before, is to try to prepare students to engage in a variety of different kinds of social work. So the idea is the hope is that when you get done, you'll be able to work with, whether it's with children, with the elderly, in a hospital, in a rural area, that we try to prepare you as broadly as possible, recognizing that there's going to be a number of, that there are a number of needs out there. We got to try to prep you as best we can. We also have, I think, in social work, pretty strong preparation for graduate school as well. I guess the other thing maybe I would mention, if you're interested in social work, we do have a Title IV instructor and program here at the campus. And what that means is the Title IV refers to child welfare and child protection, and it's some funding and a program provided by the state. And what it offers is, during your senior year, if a student agrees to work for the Department of Health and Welfare for a set number of years after graduation, you're eligible for a scholarship that I believe, last time I remember, was around $5,900 a year, which covers a pretty good chunk of your senior year tuition. Now, again, not everyone does that, of course, because sometimes people, they have other career paths and may not want to work for the State Department of Health and Welfare, or they may not want to go into children's services. But if you do, there is a chance to get a good scholarship courtesy of the state to help you out with that.
That's awesome.
So
So
I
I
hope
did
that
get a little
helps a little bit.
clarification on that question. So the question was more or less, do you think it helps or hinders a person who's looking at going into social work if they have a social worker themselves?
Hmm. If they're a social worker themselves, I'm sorry, Rachel, I think you cut out there for just a second. I didn't
If
hear
they
you.
have a social worker themselves.
Oh, so like if they're working with a social worker then.
Right. Yeah.
Well, sure. I think, well, I guess I would always think that working with someone who's kind of gone through that path would certainly be an advantage. Now, of course, different schools approach things differently. And so the courses that they take as a social, if they're in a different program at a different school, they might have taken somewhat different courses than a student at LCS would take. But my sense is that a lot of social work you're going to do, there are some commonalities. There's basic kinds of foundational courses on just introduction to the field, some courses on sort of working with individuals and families, versus, as well as courses on that sort of take more of a macro, big picture view of social structures and how those might um, shape the society and shape, in that sense, the people with whom you're going to be working. So I mean, I guess I don't think it would hurt you to work with another social worker. Just be aware that if they went to a different school, their experience and their coursework might not be the same as you would have at LCSC.
Right. Right.
I hope that helps.
I think that did. I think so. I haven't
Oh,
heard any
good.
more questions on it or seen any
Oh,
more
okay.
questions. So
Okay.
I think we're okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, kind of last call for questions for those of you who are watching. Up on the screen there, we have the contact information for my office and the admissions office. And then we also have the social sciences division phone number and Dr. Riggs's email, which I also put in the chat.
Yeah.
So if you do have questions that you need specific answers on, he's awesome at answering those questions. So he's a great resource for you. So the next time we're going to do a Facebook Live is going to be in 2 weeks, and it's going to be on January 25th. And it's actually going to be the Teacher Education and Mathematics Division. So if that's something that any of you who are watching are interested in learning a little bit more about, we'll be back here again on Wednesday. Oh, one more question, Chris.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
What kinds of things does the Psychology Club do?
Oh, let's see. Oh, they do a lot of fun stuff. They had, let's say, they've thrown some pizza parties. They've had some various kinds of social events. They've helped organize. I don't know if they still do. Again, some of this is pre-pandemic, and so we're still just trying to kind of get back to normal. They had I know this sounds weird, I realize, but they actually had like a free hugs thing where if you're feeling sad, the psychology club member would give you a hug if you asked for it. I mean, nothing inappropriate, just
Right.
supportive. And I know some of the faculty at first were like, I don't know about this, but apparently it went over very well. People kind of appreciated that. And they've also, I believe, they provide some support for our annual research symposium, where students in psychology get to pursue their own individual research interests and develop a poster on it, and they present that to other students and faculty members of the public. So it's kind of a mixture. They do some fun things. They've got kind of a clubhouse in our student union building, so you just kind of go hang out and talk to your friends and people with similar interests. But they also are involved in campus activity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen them out and about myself, so I know that they are involved.
They
Great.
are very much so.
Okay. Well, perfect. Chris, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who viewed the session. Feel free, like I mentioned, to reach out to Dr. Riggs or the admissions office. We're happy to help answer any questions that you may have. And I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast.
Thank you, everybody.